Good evening, and welcome to another week with Jackie Denise of Breaking Bondage. Today, you're going to hear my personal story, the raw, unedited, unscripted, uncut, no Vaseline, this is how it is story. Full disclosure, details that I've not shared with anybody, and I wanted to go ahead and put my story out first. So here it is. Um, my version, my story from my perspective of what transpired when I found out that the man I was married to was molesting my children. So here it is. Ready? Um, it it's a heck of a story, so buckle up. But I've got notes. My girlfriend, shout out to Catrice, thank you, Cat Rice, always being there, encouraged me at the time to take notes, detailed notes, write down dates, specifics, times, because she thought I would one day be able to use it, and she was convinced that God would someday get the glory out of this situation. So, shout out to my girlfriend. I'm glad I did that because I've noticed going through this for this video that I stated some dates that were not correct and some specifics that were more detailed in my writing. So deep breath. Here we go. All right. So this is like I said, going to be quite a doozy. Okay. On Friday, January 25th, 2019, some of you may just say Thursday night, but technically it was Friday morning. This was about, again, 2 a.m. I got a phone call from my son. We're in the transportation business, so we drive trucks over the road, 18-wheelers, semi-trucks, tractor trailers, okay? So my son was under a load, and it was a very cold, brutal winter this particular year, again in 2019. And my son had slipped and had gone down into a ditch. And he had started calling me about 1:30 in the morning, saying, hey, I need you to get me a wrecker. I need a tow truck. I need to get out of this ditch. And he had called me about 3 or 4 times. I got up. I was in the bed with my husband at the time. Wow, I can actually say that. See, I am free. I was in the bed with him, and I did not want to disturb or wake him. So I left our bedroom and I went into the part of the house that we used as an office. And I was sitting at the desk, and this was an open room, but we had turned half of it into an office. So in front of, I was sitting in a chair facing the computer. The whole setup was in front of me, much like this. And then there was a door that led to one of my daughter's bedrooms just right there. And so I'm on the phone, and I'm dealing with my son, trying to get him out of a ditch. He was about a couple of 100 miles out and trying to make it in through the storm, and I guess the ice got him. But nonetheless, the door opened. The bedroom door, my daughter's door, opened, and she threw a piece of paper out. Lord Jesus, I am going to get through this. Okay, guys, let's work with me. I am free, and I can actually talk about this with tears of joy now, and from a position of victory, because I know I've already won. But the door opens, she throws out a folded sheet of paper, and I'm like, what the heck are y'all doing? I'm tired. I'm trying to get this boy out the ditch. What is going on? I didn't see their faces. She just threw a note out. And the note, I opened it. And, well, on the outside, it said, read this, Mom. And I opened the note, and it says, we need to talk to you about Mr. And they said his name. And for purposes that I shouldn't have to explain, I'm not going to say his name on this video. I don't have a problem with it, but legalities and all. Okay. He's still very much on trial. We're still going through the system. Our struggle is not over, so that's the reason. But anyway, it said we need to talk to you about Mr. whatever. They never called him Dad ever. You know, their father passed when they were 1 year old. So, yeah, I froze. Everything in me froze. I stopped breathing. I am sure my heart stopped beating when I read that. I didn't need to. I just knew. I knew something. I knew. And I remember hanging up the phone and pushing back from my desk and flinging open that bedroom door. And I saw my twins terrified, like morbidly terrified. They had a look of hurt and pain and anger, and more than anything was fear. And I said, "What is this?" And I had the note in my hand. I asked, "What is this?" They just started going a mile a minute. And although I was listening and I heard everything, after a while their voices became just, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I could not believe what I was hearing. I do recall, because I honestly, guys, I left my body. I did. I literally left my body. I couldn't, there's a lot of gaps in this story that I am sharing with you, and a lot of information people had to tell me, because I just could not, I couldn't remember, let alone, I couldn't believe I did it, but I couldn't remember doing what I did. I really spaced out. I left my body. I understand when people say they have an outer body experience and they literally leave there. I know what that is. So as my daughters were talking, all I can remember is telling them to go get in the car. Now, they were explaining to me that Mr. Blank Man was coming into the room, and they needed me to be very, very quiet because he had them dressed in certain clothes, and he was coming into them to their room that night. And when they heard me get up at 1, they had been waiting all night in fear, because he had told them when I had fallen asleep, he was coming back into the room. Now, let me explain something and clear something up, because a lot of people don't know this, but I have twins. I have twin daughters. They're 17 years old now. They were 11 years old when I got married, and I was married 4 years, 10 months, and 25 days. Now, I have twins that are night and day. Absolutely gorgeous, both of them. One is taller than the other, one is darker than the other, one is lighter, one is very prissy and girly, and one is kind of like feisty and all of me. And so for the entire time we were married, he was actually molesting one twin and threatened her with the life of her sister if she would have told anybody, okay? And so, and of course threatened to murder me. And once he invoked that fear over her, she lived with it. And from what I understand, and I don't have a full understanding, I'm still learning about this stuff. She hid it, within, because she loved me and she loved her sister and she didn't want us to die. And she grew up with that fear. Sidebar, by the way, you guys may not know this, so I learned this. Never, ever, 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 ever ask a victim, "Why didn't you tell?" That is the most highly offensive thing you can ask someone who has been victimized. Obviously, if they felt that was an option, they would have done so. If they saw that as a way out, they would have exercised that. And I had to learn that, because that's the first thing I asked my daughters: "Why didn't you tell me?" And you do it, you don't know. But I've been taught. So just so you are aware, it doesn't matter how close your relationship is with your child, with your daughter, with your son, it's the fear that's invoked, the amount of fear, and they do it for love, for you. 9 times out of 10, it's for you. So don't ask them, why didn't they tell anybody? I had people saying, well, I thought you and your girls were close. Why would they hide that? And I wanted to slap them in their face. But anyway, let's get back to the story, okay? So my daughters are telling me, oh, well, you do need to know this. So for the 4 years, it was one daughter the entire time. And he finally got to a point where he tried my second daughter. That's the feisty pistol that I have. And from what I understand, he is a master manipulator, and he targeted me with the two daughters and my two daughters for a very specific reason. And he targeted one of my twins over the other for a very specific reason. He's a sexual predator, and he is a master manipulator. So obviously he knew which twin was the weaker twin and was more likely to be persuaded, feared, the fear put down in her, and so on and so forth. So anyway, fast forwarding, he hadn't molested my second daughter the entire 4 years. However, he got to a point where he just flat out couldn't resist her any longer. And he did try her. And because he did, she did what he knew she would do the entire time. She's the reason the case was bust wide open. She told. Okay. First, she told her twin sister. And all that day, they just fully disclosed everything to each other. They said what he was doing, said that he had been threatening one of them over the other, one to kill the other, threatened my life. And so my feisty twin said, okay, we have to tell mom. We have to tell her. And so again, that's how the case broke. Okay. So they tell me that night, 2 a.m., and I do recall taking them even in their pajamas. I didn't even let them get dressed. I was disconnected. They told me, I told them to go get in the car right now. No coat, no shoes. It was freezing. It was ice. It was snow. I don't even remember. They said that I told them to get in the car, so I guess I did. I remember that I had to go into my bedroom and get my keys, because I remember not wanting to wake him up because I needed him to remain asleep. I needed him to stay in the bed till I got back, which I was later told that was premeditated, because I had enough sense to know to actually get my kids to safety, and then to plan to come back. So that's what I did. Anyways, I remember getting my keys, and I remember there was a knife that we kept beside the bed, and so I saw that knife because I remember thinking I should just stab him up. I was going to do that right then, but I didn't want my daughters to see me covered in blood. I remember at some point thinking that. So I remembered I have to get my kids away. So I put them in the car. And at the time I was living in East St. Louis. And I drove them to safety. And for me, that was to my pastor's front door at 2 o'clock in the morning. I passed several friends' houses. I passed my son's house. I passed other relatives. I drove to my pastor's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, with no clothes on. And I told my kids, I won't be back. And I meant it. I told my daughters, and it seemed like the longest ride of my life, because while we were driving, they just were crying and pouring out details, specifics, horrible things that they had been holding, one for the over 4 years and the other for the last 2 days. And yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I remember arriving at my pastor's front door, and I pushed my girls in, and I said, I won't be back. My sons have full instructions of what to do if anything should ever happen to me. And I need you to keep my children. I left that house and I went to 3 different places. And I went to each of those places to get a gun. And I remembered thinking about my daughters, and I was playing the details that they had just described to me over and over in my head. I don't even know how I got from one city to the next, from one house to the next, from one person to the next. I know I went to 3 different people. The first person told me, I can't give you my gun, but I'll go with you. I'll go with you. We'll get to the bottom. Let me help you. And the second person said, I'll handle it. Let me do it. Not tonight. Just you and the girls. Y'all will be straight. Leave. I got you. Wasn't good enough for me. The third person, I said, okay, well, the first 2 didn't work. I'm not asking. So I was going to steal their gun. And that's what I tried to do, and I got busted. And of course, I had to tell everything that was happening. Yeah, so anyways, I didn't get a gun. I ended up getting a gun, and I went back to the house. By the time I made it to the house, and I didn't think I was gone very long, but apparently my daughters told my pastor everything that they had just told me. My pastor woke up 2 ministers. They made it back to my house before I did. So somewhere in that space and time while I was traveling to get a gun, they had already made it back to my house. And one of the ministers did the boom, woke that ninja up. He came to the door and they said, you need to answer some allegations. And he looked around and noticed that me and the girls were gone. And they said he instantly turned around, rummaging through the house, came out with an already packed bag. This is how devious he is and how much of a predator. I guess he believed in making ready at all times. Grabbed his keys, backup spirit set to my car, pushed past the ministers. And they said they were just in shock. They like, what are you doing? Where are you going? And he jumped in the car and he fled. It would be another almost 2 weeks later before the police actually got him. And I'll tell you about that in just a few seconds. But anyways, I arrived back to the house and my pastor was there and my ministers. And of course, I am livid. I don't believe I said a single word that wasn't a curse word. And I blamed them and I told them they helped him, because in my mind, that's what I thought that they did. And so I didn't want to look at them. I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't want to see them. I told you guys this was uncut and unedited. Here, this is my daughter. Put it in the freezer for me. That's my ice cream. I didn't finish eating it. Thanks. I got a water though, but live. So yeah, I'm reading my notes. So anyway, no, go away, please. You're not supposed to ever see this file. So anyways, no, I got this one. Thanks, babe. They let him leave. According to my notes, I got back to the house. It was a space of time because my next note is at 3:28 a.m. I was at my house and I am going off on everybody. And at the time, my son was there, my uncle was there, my sister was there. And then 2 policemen came to my door. And my sister, bless her sweet little heart, I'm going to tell you her name, Annette. My sister Annette called the police on me. She says I was out of my mind, out of control. I was not me. I was not listening to anybody. I knew where he went. There was only one place in the whole world he could go at 2:30 in the morning, and I knew where that place was. So when the police arrived, I had a weapon, several. Um, I was not cooperative, as they termed it. Who would be? I'm out of my freaking mind, right? Um, it was nuts. The officer was really kind and understanding. However, he had a job to do. So he explained to me in his nice little policeman voice that if I didn't disclose, well, first of all, he asked me, did anything happen that he should be aware of? And I told him no. Did I want to report a crime? I said, absolutely not. Did anything happen to your daughters? Nah. Look, I have to ask you flat out. If you have any information regarding any acts of violence against your daughters and you do not tell me, and it is later learned that you did know and blah, 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 then we're going to charge you because we could charge you because you could be helping him, blah, blah, blah. I have nothing to report to you, sir. Get out of my house. Now, my family is, oh, you can't let her leave. Man, we can't keep this woman in this house. Nah, she got, now this is my snitching sister, y'all get her, okay? She got stuff, she got that. Now, she tells me that she didn't want to see me go to jail for the rest of my life. One day I might get to the point where I can thank her, but I'm getting her for right now. But she said she didn't want to see me go to jail. My pastor didn't want to see me go to jail. My son was just completely gone. But he ride with me. My son ride with me. Everybody took a hit, okay? He was a minister in our church. So my pastor and the other ministers, they took a hit. I mean, he was very instrumental in a lot of the ministries we had established throughout the community. He was a prominent businessman, and we were all fooled. We were all crushed. We were hurt. Nobody could believe. Everybody was in shock. Like, we were in shock. Yeah, like this is a Lifetime movie, right? So I jumped in my car, and I think one of my brothers pulled up also. And this was my brother who's a goon. Don't act like you don't have any brothers who's a goon. Now, I know it's one in every family. So he said, Jackie, we gonna go find this ninja. And we rode out. And I pulled his phone records, and I saw the phone number that he had dialed 15 times, and the calls ranged from 1 to 3 minutes. And I knew that was the only place he could go anyway, so I went there, but my car wasn't there, and it was gated. I couldn't get in, so I posted up, and I waited a very long time, and we rode around a lot and looked for him for a long time. Anyways, fast forwarding past that, on that was all, again, the early morning hours of Friday. So time elapsed and went by. I haven't eaten. I haven't gone back to sleep. I'm just murder on my mind. Just, he must die. He must stop breathing. He is a waste of skin. I don't know why God created him. He has to go away. So on Saturday, that afternoon, I got a couple of calls from a couple of police officers out of concern. And I think this guy was leaving his shift, and he just was like, look, I know where you are. You can't handle this on your own. You cannot do it your way. Please let us do our jobs. Your family is adamant that he has done something to your children. You have to press charges. Please, we don't want to find out later and have to come and get you. Please come to the station. On Saturday morning, I actually went in and pressed charges on him. And it was on January 26th. And so I'm reading here. I went down to the police station, and they were very insensitive, and they were very rude. And I said, hey, I'm here to press charges on somebody. And then an officer on duty said, Oh, you the one who you were the call from the other night. You told us to get out your house. Oh, now you back. Now this is a police officer. I'm not going to say his name, but I do know his name. But for the sake of the other fine policemen that actually does really good police work, I'm not going to mar the name of the East St. Louis police officer. I actually love East St. That's my city. That's my people. I love them. But this one officer in particular was very rude and insensitive and was very upset that I told the other officers and they were this and they were that and da 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 da. So what I need the police help for now? What I couldn't find them on my own? When I tell you, I almost turned around and walked away, but my son was with me and said, Mom, let's just deal with this and it's part of the process. Let's go. So I went ahead and filed the police report. I gave them the tracker that I was using through the cell phone. I knew exactly where he was, and I told them that he had crossed state line. I gave them his exact location, and they told me, well, on Monday, we'll file it because it's Saturday, and we're not going to get anything done till Monday. I kid you not. So they told me, come back, follow up on Monday, and we'll see where we are. Which I did. I followed up on Monday as they asked me to. And it was terrible. So I went down there in person and I spoke with a very beautiful, kind, polite, sensitive woman. She was a mother. And I do know her name, so I won't disclose any names for anybody at East St. Louis PD. But beautiful. She's still there. She still works there. I thank her all the time. She's awesome. And she said that she had gotten my case assigned and that I could talk to the officer who it was actually assigned to. I went up and I spoke with the detective. He was also very nice, very professional, he was for let's find him. Let's get him off the streets before he does this to someone else. He had children of his own, a daughter, or 3 daughters. And he understood, and it was awesome. He read over the initial report and added what he would call a supplement to that report. So they added the supplement to the original officer's report who had responded to the call that night at my house and said, let's bring him in for questioning. So anyways, they attempted to locate him. Now, the next 10 days was kind of torture because my daughters had that fear that he had planted in their brains that if they ever told, they would die and their mother would die, or that he would come back. So we couldn't sleep. We couldn't eat. My daughters were plagued with nightmares. Waking up in the middle of the night, screams, not wanting to go out during the day, jumping at every crook you would make from the floor, every creak, every sound. It was devastating. It was a horrible time. My sons were, well, my one son made it home off the road, and he was actually just, we were all just, I can't even describe that space. I can't describe it. I did a lot of stupid stuff during that time. Called his kids, which I always want to keep the kids out of it, but his sons were into it with my sons. It was a lot of verbiage back and forth, insults and this and that. I will say that his Mr. What did I name him in the beginning of this video? We'll just say Mr. Molester. His parents came by the next day because I called his sister at 2:30 in the morning. I was out of my mind. I just wanted to find him. I called, she called his parents, and when I say he comes from great stock, I don't know what happened to him. I did respect the fact that they actually came over. You know, they came to the house, and my son and brothers were there, and it ended up being very ugly, but it was a nice gesture. They meant well, but his mother couldn't get out of the car, and bless her heart, she had just gotten out of the hospital with heart issues. So I do understand it was a bit much for her. I respect the fact that his stepfather came in, and then he looked at me and he said, and I quote, "I told him he better not ever touch those girls." All the air, all of the air left my body. My family flipped. Now, I'm looking at this older man, and he doesn't realize what he just said. Did y'all catch it? Why on God's green earth would you have to tell your nice minister son, stepson, that he better not ever touch my girls? What do you know that will make you say that you never told me before I got married to this monster? Yeah. Over the next few weeks, I learned of several other victims. I learned from exes who reached out to me who said, "I am so sorry. If I had reported him, what happened to my daughter wouldn't have happened to yours." And I'm sorry. I am sorry for what happened to her child, but I was very angry. Why didn't you report him? And we did find one victim that is willing to testify, that's going to actually help out with my trial, so we can establish the history, the habitual, but the others won't come forward, not to testify in court. They'll talk to me all day long. They'll even tell my detective, "Yeah, my family handled it. Yeah, this happened. Yeah," but we're not going on the record. I asked two of them, why? Why wouldn't you? Embarrassment, shame, humiliation, all the reasons that I have to not make this video for you right now. And for the last almost 3 years, for the last 3 years, yeah, for the last 3 years, I've felt that. It's like a wet blanket. It's like I wake up in the morning. I remember playing that song on repeat. I wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-40, Glocks. Anyway, y'all know. And I stopped listening to it now. I'm free, for real, y'all. But, I mean, I could talk about it. I haven't broke down, teared up a little bit. But, yeah, it was rough. The next couple of weeks served as a time of, I don't know, it was painful. It was painful for all of us. I got a call from an officer in Florida saying that Mr. Molester, Mr. Monster, Mr. Molester, whatever I named him, had phoned them with allegations about me and my children, which totally shocked me. I said, "He called you? Why would he call Florida?" I'm thinking, why would he call Florida? Why in the world? What's going on? And unfortunately, we had set up a ministry down there that had to be closed. But my parents live in Florida, and they have their own church-owned ministry, and we set up a food pantry through the ministry. So we would fly down there 2-3 times a year, sometimes 4. And I told the officer that, what was going on, what he was charged with here in the state of Illinois, and that he was on the run and we couldn't find him. And he said, "Wait a minute, you said he's been in the state of Florida?" I said, "Oh yeah, 3-4 times a year." over the last 4 years, 10 months, and 25 days. They said, ma'am, do you have records of that? I said, I absolutely do, but why do you need it? Well, ma'am, didn't you say he's a registered offender? Yes, he is. Well, he didn't have permission to be in our state. We're going to charge him with that. And then when he's finished with this case in Illinois, he's going to come here and answer for these charges. And then we'll actually move forward with additional charges. So, where we are today, we are going through the courts. He is fighting, denying everything. I don't understand. I don't understand that. Why would you throw a rock and hide your hand? Why would you? He needs help. So I just don't get that part. Like, I've expected that he would own up and man up at this point, but he's not. He knows I'm going to leave for the rest of my life when I'm convicted, so why not just give it a shot? I guess that's what he's thinking. But I am trusting that God will work this out the way that is in accordance to his will. So we're still very much going through court. COVID affected that a lot. Trial has been set a couple times and then canceled. He's gone through 3 attorneys who all say that he's uncooperative, not reasonable, impossible to work with. So at this point, they're saying they're going to appoint a public defender to represent him. And we've got another court date coming up. I think they gave him 60 days. If I'm not mistaken, the end of November. And yeah, my daughters and I are still healing, being made whole. My family and I took a hard blow. But we're pressing forward. We're pressing forward. We're moving forward. Things are going to work in our favor. The way I see it now is I've already won. I'm free. And I would never be bound again. I'm free. And so I have to admit that I'm not at a place where I have completely forgiven him. And God knows that, and I tell God all about that. I have started praying for him, and that's new. So that's like 2 weeks now. That's, I'm big time, and I'm going some. And that is for me. That is because I absolutely refuse to allow him to have any power over my mood, my attitude, my demeanor, the way I walk, think, act, move. I will not give him the satisfaction of knowing that he still has that much authority in his absence. Absolutely not. My daughters work double, triple hard. They went to summer school. I got them a tutor. They are on target with their grades and will be graduating early as midterm grads. They have jobs. They are moving forward. I, myself, I'm moving forward as well. I'm free. I am praying. I am trusting God. I am back in the church. I'm reading my word. And more importantly than the building, I'm working on a relationship. And so I'm excited about just helping others to get to this place where I am in. I'm excited about what is to come, even though we're still in the middle of our storm. I know he's forcing my children to have to go to trial and take a stand. I don't want that for them, and God knows that. But if that is the case, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and we're gonna take it like a champ, and we're gonna handle it. We're gonna deal with it. You know, there are some things I won't get to know the answers to. I won't ever get to know why, you know? And I doubt that when I finally make it to heaven, I would revisit the painful moments and ask the Lord why. I'm going to be kicking it. I am happy today. I'm grateful for this moment, this space, and where I am, because when I tell you, I'm only here because of God. I'm only here because of God. Anyways, where was I? So we're still going through court. We still have a trial ahead of us that we have to go through. My girls are 17 now, and my family's, we're coming along. We're doing all right. Okay, I have no complaints. It won't get me anywhere. I just I'm I'm in a good place. There's lots and lots more notes and details that I'm not going to go into all of that. That's going to be another story for another day. But who knows, right? Um, I just want to thank you, for listening. Thank you for hearing my story. Share my story. I don't mind. I'm putting it out here. Why? Because it gives me my power back. I'm taking my life back. I'm giving up. How you do it? 1, 2, ooh, you know. I don't know. It is a good thing, and a merry heart does good like a medicine. And I am, I'm healing, and I'm okay. And I've already won. I've already won. So I live now from victory, from a place of victory. I operate from victory. I move from victory. Even though I'm in the middle of my mess, I don't think like it. I don't move like it. I don't operate. I don't function. I only move from victory because I've already won. I'm a winner. Everything I touch turns to gold. Even this ugly situation. So I bless you. I thank you. That is week 2, Liberty week 2. Another week with Miss Jackie Denise. Tune in next week. We have an awesome interview scheduled. I thank you for your time and your attentiveness. Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so that you can get notified when I post more videos. Thank you. Live free.